I am Anil Kumar and we will consider polynomials with restricted range in this particular video. Normally, what is the domain of polynomial? Domain is x belongs to real numbers. Polynomials do not have any restrictions on their domain. However, there are polynomials which can have restrictions in range. Which one are those? Well, if the degree is odd, in that case, range is again y belongs to real numbers, right? So no restrictions. However, if the degree is even, then we have restrictions. So what we find here is that polynomials with even degree has restrictions on range. So that is what is important to understand. And another thing which we also understand is that for these even degree polynomials, since they have restriction in range, that really means that for such functions, range could be kind of y belongs to real numbers where y is greater than equal to some value. So let us say the value a, okay. So in such cases, we are looking for, since it is greater than that value, we have absolute minimum. But if you have range, which is y belongs to real numbers, where y is less than equal to some value, let us say b, in that case we do have absolute maximum, right? And what do you think is the reason for this? The reason for this restriction is, what is the reason? Let's find the reason for restriction. Reason for restriction is end behavior. What we see is that for an even degree polynomial, both sides face on the same sides, right? For an even degree polynomial, if the leading coefficient, let me write leading coefficient, which normally is written as an, is positive, in that case, what do we have? In that case, we'll have absolute minimum. However, if an is negative, what do we have? We have absolute maximum. Is that clear? So normally, if I have a graph, let me sketch a graph here and I'll give you some exception there. So I'm making a smaller graph. I intended to make a bigger one but ran out of space. So if an is let's say an is positive, greater than 0, in that case the graph will be something like this. Do you see that? So we have this as absolute minimum. However, if an is leading coefficient is less than 0 negative, then the graph will be kind of, may have many turns like this, and that is absolute maximum. Do you see that? So that is kind of nature of graph. Since both sides are facing on the same ends, there has to be one absolute maxima or minima. So that is very typical of even degree polynomials. Now here is an exception. If you have a graph of a function, or rather let the question be, can a polynomial have just one number in its range? Yes, it can, and the example here is kind of a straight line, which represents a constant, right? So constant functions are also polynomials whose equation is y equals to, let us say in this case it is 5. Then the range is only 5. Do you see? Because it can have all real numbers in its domain, the range is 5, and these polynomials are also with even symmetry, right? So these are even symmetry polynomials with very restricted range as just one number, as you can see here. Do you understand? So that could be another very restricted polynomial. So now let me summarize this video as saying that all those polynomials which have odd degrees will have no restrictions on domain and range. However, polynomials with even degree will have restrictions in domain. However, the polynomials with even degree will have restrictions in range. Domain will have no. However, the polynomials with even degree will have restriction in range. There could be a maximum, absolute maximum value if the leading coefficient is less than 0. There could be absolute minimum value if the leading coefficient is positive. And at times, if you're only dealing with a constant function, which is also a polynomial, range will have just one element in it. So with that, I hope you understand that polynomials can have a restricted range. I hope that helps. I'm Anil Kumar. You can subscribe my videos and share them. Thank you and all the best.